What if everything we think we know about the beginning of life on Earth is wrong? What if the first intelligent civilization didn't rise after the dinosaurs, but before them? Long before mammals walked the plains, before reptiles ruled the continents, and before the planet had even settled into the form we recognize today, what if intelligence had already taken shape? Not human, not reptilian, not bound to any form we can imagine, but something ancient. A consciousness that learned to build, to create, to remember, and perhaps to hide. Science tells us that complex civilization began a few thousand years ago. Archaeology gives us ruins, artifacts, and fragments of human history that reach back only a tiny fraction of geological time. But beneath those layers, beneath the shifting plates and fossilized epochs, lies a deeper mystery, one that whispers from the stones themselves. What if the Earth carries memories older than evolution? What if intelligence is not a new phenomenon, but an eternal pattern that reawakens again and again, like the pulse of the universe itself? Every fossil, every mineral vein, every grain of sand is a page in a story billions of years long, and yet we've only just begun to read the final chapters. What might we find if we dug a little deeper, beneath the dinosaurs, beneath the first cells, beneath what we call the beginning? In this journey, we'll explore a forbidden question, one that bridges science, mythology, and philosophy. Could there have been civilizations so ancient that their ruins turned to dust before the first dinosaur ever hatched? Could the very laws of geology be the tombstones of forgotten worlds? And if so, what traces remain, hidden not just in the earth, but in the structure of life, in energy, in memory? Some scientists have quietly wondered, if another civilization existed millions or billions of years ago, how would we ever know? Time erases everything. Fossils crumble, cities dissolve, and continents shift. Yet there are hints, subtle, unsettling. Metallic spheres with precise grooves found in rock layers billions of years old. Patterns in stone that defy explanation. Fossilized anomalies that suggest tools, carvings, and even symbols from a time when, according to modern science, there should have been no hands to create them. The question is not whether these clues are real, but whether we are ready to see them for what they might mean. Because if even one of these impossible relics is authentic, then everything we've been taught about human origins, evolution, and history collapses into something far greater and far stranger. Imagine civilizations that rose not from clay and bone, but from forms of matter we no longer recognize. Life that might have thought, dreamed, and built with forces that are now only rediscovered in our physics labs. Quantum civilizations, conscious entities who shaped the Earth before biology began, who may have encoded their legacy in the very particles that make up our world. If that sounds impossible, remember, the universe itself was once thought impossible. Every breakthrough begins as heresy. Every truth begins as a myth. What if we are not discovering the origins of intelligence, but remembering them? As you listen tonight, let each image, each idea open a doorway, not just to knowledge, but to memory. The memory of a planet far older than we can comprehend, and perhaps of civilizations that once walked a very different Earth. Could their ruins still be here, buried deep beneath our feet? Could their voices still resonate in the hum of the Earth's magnetic field, in the patterns of energy we call coincidence or intuition? Share your thoughts below. What do you believe hides beneath the surface of time? And if this question awakens something inside you, a curiosity that refuses to fade, then remember to like this video and subscribe, because this is just the beginning of our descent into Earth's forgotten epochs, where science and mystery intertwine and where the past may not be behind us, but beneath us. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast canyon, not carved by rivers, but by time itself. Every layer of rock beneath your feet represents a forgotten era, a world erased by the silence of extinction. You look down, and each stratum whispers in a language older than fossils. The deeper you stare, the more you begin to wonder, what if these layers are not just geological archives, but the buried architecture of civilizations beyond comprehension? What if intelligence has always existed, rising and falling like tides, and we are merely the latest ripple on an ancient ocean of memory? Scientists call these deep layers the basement rocks, formations dating back billions of years. To most, they are nothing more than compressed minerals, relics of the planet's chaotic infancy. But to others, those who listen differently, they are something else entirely. They are the residue of something deliberate. Within these stones lie anomalies, shapes too geometric to be random, traces of metallic compositions that should not exist in nature, signatures of precision in epochs when, by all accounts, the Earth was still molten and lifeless. These whispers from the deep suggest a truth our textbooks cannot hold, that we may not be the first to awaken. Consider this. The oldest known tools used by humans are roughly 3 million years old, but the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. That means that for more than 99.9% of the planet's history, we assume nothing intelligent existed. Does that make sense? That in billions of years, during endless cycles of creation and destruction, consciousness appeared only once and only as us? Or does it sound more like the echo of something that's been here before, forgotten and reborn over and over again? Some of the most perplexing evidence points toward impossibly ancient origins. In South Africa, miners discovered perfectly round metallic spheres buried in rock layers nearly 3 billion years old, grooved, balanced, and polished beyond anything that geological chance could create. Their composition does not match known ores from that time. They don't belong there. Yet they exist, challenging everything we believe about chronology. In Russia's Ural Mountains, microscopic coils made from advanced metals were unearthed in sediments at least 100,000 years old. These spirals, smaller than a human hair, show engineering precision requiring technology that even modern industry struggles to replicate. How can that be, when according to history, humans were still hunter-gatherers with no concept of metallurgy? Unless, of course, they were not the first ones here. The mind resists these ideas because they destabilize our foundation of certainty. We find comfort in beginnings, in believing that we are the dawn of intelligence. But what if we are its dusk? What if we are living in one of many afterglows, a continuation of an ancient pattern in which civilizations rise, reach beyond their limits, and collapse into the dust of time, only to begin again when the Earth forgets? In myth, these memories remain encoded. Nearly every ancient culture speaks of civilizations that fell before memory, from Atlantis and Lemuria to the Sumerian tales of pre-human gods. Modern science dismisses these as metaphor. But what if myth is not invention, but remembrance, a subconscious transmission from earlier worlds embedded in our collective psyche? Perhaps these stories persist not because they entertain us, but because they are trying to remind us of something we once knew. Even geology carries its secrets. The Earth's crust is full of magnetic anomalies, vast, unexplained distortions in its field that hint at buried masses of unknown composition. Some researchers have proposed that these could be the remnants of structures, continents swallowed by time, their metallic cores interfering with magnetic currents. Others speak of fossil energy patterns, residual fields left behind by technologies that harnessed forces modern science is only beginning to rediscover: harmonic energy, piezoelectric resonance, planetary vibration. Technologies that did not rely on combustion or circuitry, but on synchronization with nature itself. Imagine civilizations that could move stone not with machines, but with sound, using resonance to counteract gravity. Imagine cities powered not by fuel, but by frequency. Perhaps this is why the monuments that remain, from the Great Pyramid to the megaliths of Baalbek, seem to hum with inaudible harmony. Perhaps they are not from our timeline at all, but echoes, rebuilt on the same energetic nodes once used by civilizations predating even biological life. It may sound impossible, but consider what modern physics tells us, that the universe is made not of solid matter, but of vibrations, that every particle oscillates with energy, every atom is a note in the cosmic symphony. If consciousness is capable of influencing energy, as quantum observation experiments suggest, then perhaps those ancient beings mastered what we are only beginning to remember: how to shape reality itself through intention and resonance. When Cataclysm came, as it always does, these civilizations vanished. But energy does not die, it transforms. Their ruins may have dissolved into stone, but their knowledge may still linger in the very structure of the planet. In the rhythm of earthquakes, in the frequency of light, in the DNA of every living creature that evolved after. Maybe we are not separate from them, but descendants of their experiment, a continuation of their consciousness, reborn into new biological forms. And if that is true, then the impossible relics are not anomalies at all. They are memory anchors, physical echoes of an intelligence so ancient it transcends species and time. We are its children, its extensions, its ongoing story written in the language of evolution. The question is no longer did they exist, but when will we remember them? Because every discovery we make, every unexplainable artifact, every myth that feels too real to dismiss, brings us one step closer to awakening that memory. And as we look deeper into the earth, into the cosmos, into ourselves, we begin to realize that perhaps we are not uncovering the past at all. Perhaps we are being led back to it, guided by the ruins of worlds that came before, waiting patiently for us to open our eyes and understand that the beginning was never the beginning at all, but only the middle of something far greater that still continues. If the traces of these forgotten civilizations truly exist, they would not appear as cities or monuments like the ones we know today. Their remains would be woven into the fabric of the planet itself, coated in the stone, the water, even the atmosphere. Imagine a civilization so ancient that its creations no longer stand as ruins, but have become part of the Earth's natural systems, indistinguishable from nature itself. The mountains could be their monuments, the magnetic field, their network, the very composition of the atmosphere, their legacy, a planetary fingerprint left by a mind that understood creation not as domination, but as harmony. Science already recognizes that Earth has been reshaped multiple times by forces beyond imagination. Continents have collided, oceans have evaporated, poles have shifted. Every 26 million years, according to some researchers, the planet undergoes an extinction cycle, a rhythmic pulse of destruction and renewal. What if these cycles are not random? What if they are the resets of a greater system, a cosmic mechanism ensuring that no civilization ever lasts long enough to claim eternity? Perhaps Earth herself is the guardian of balance, a self-correcting organism that allows consciousness to rise, explore, forget, and begin again. The possibility may seem fantastical, yet the evidence is strangely persuasive. Scientists have found evidence of technological elements in layers of rock far older than humanity. Tiny metallic spheres, perfectly balanced and grooved, buried in strata nearly 3 billion years old. Complex patterns etched in granite deep below the surface, impossible to explain through geological processes alone. Even the ancient fossil record occasionally whispers of forms that defy classification. Skeletons with proportions inconsistent with known species, footprints fossilized beside those of creatures long extinct before humans appeared. Each of these findings is dismissed as coincidence or contamination. Yet when coincidences multiply, they cease to be coincidences and start becoming patterns. And patterns once seen cannot be unseen. Perhaps these patterns are clues, fragments of a greater memory that has been erased not by time alone, but by deliberate design. If a civilization existed before the dinosaurs, one capable of manipulating matter at will, it might have understood the dangers of permanence. To erase itself might have been its greatest act of wisdom, a conscious decision to allow the planet to reset, to seed new forms of life, and to let intelligence rediscover itself in new ways. The ruins we search for might not have been destroyed. They might have been absorbed, transformed, hidden within the very code of life. Consider the strange congruence between biological and technological design. The structure of DNA mirrors the double helix geometry found in electromagnetic currents. Neurons in the human brain resemble the distribution of galaxies across the universe. Could this repetition of design, from microscopic to cosmic, be coincidence? Or could it be the signature of an ancient intelligence, repeating its blueprint across every scale of existence? If consciousness is the architect, then life itself could be the ultimate relic. the living artifact of civilizations before time. It's no accident that the myths of creation all begin with memory and loss. The fall, the flood, the forgotten ages of light all speak of a moment when knowledge was taken away, hidden behind the veil of survival. In these stories, humanity is not the beginning of intelligence, but its reawakening. We are the inheritors of something that once transcended flesh, now rediscovering itself through form and limitation. Every invention we create, every discovery we make, could be the subconscious attempt of the universe to rebuild what it once was. And this may be why ancient civilizations across the world, separated by oceans and epochs, tell nearly identical stories of beings who came from the stars, who taught humanity, and who disappeared beneath the sea or sky. The Sumerians spoke of the Anunnaki, the Egyptians of the Neteru, the Mayans of the sky serpents. Perhaps they were not gods, but remnants, the last echoes of a civilization that once transcended biology and returned to guide its own memory back into form. If so, we are not alone on this timeline. We are the continuation of their experiment, still unfolding under their watch. And yet the question remains, if they existed, where did they go? Why no unmistakable evidence, no machines, no writings carved in stone? The answer may lie in our understanding of time itself. To us, time is linear, a path from past to present. But to the universe, time may be cyclical, folding in on itself like waves on a shore. In such a model, the past does not vanish. It coexists, layered beneath our reality, accessible through resonance rather than excavation. The civilizations before the dinosaurs may not be gone. They may be vibrating at a frequency just beyond perception, their presence hidden not by distance but by vibration. And sometimes in the stillness of night, when the world quiets, we feel it. That subtle awareness that hums beneath existence, that sense that something vast and ancient is remembering itself through us. The déjà vu of the universe. The call of the forgotten. The murmur of the first architects of time, echoing from within the silence of the earth. And it is in this silence that we find the doorway to the next question, the one that dissolves all certainty. If the civilizations before the dinosaurs learned to merge with the planet, if they became one with the earth itself, then maybe they never vanished. Maybe the earth is them. Maybe we have been living inside their creation all along, unaware that the ground beneath us is not merely rock and soil, but the body of a sleeping civilization waiting for the right moment to awaken, when the memory of what came before begins to stir once again, and we realize that the story we call history was never truly ours to begin, but theirs to continue, through us, into what comes next. If Earth itself is the vessel of a sleeping civilization, then every tremor, every magnetic surge, every whisper of the wind might not be random at all. What if the planet is alive, not metaphorically, but consciously? Not merely a host for life, but life itself, dreaming across billions of years, using evolution as its language of memory. And what if the prehistoric civilizations that came before us were not separate from this planetary mind, but expressions of it? Epochs of awareness that rose, spoke, and returned to silence so the cycle could begin again? Modern science is beginning to glimpse the edge of this possibility. The Gaia hypothesis, once dismissed as poetic nonsense, now finds echoes in the study of self-regulating systems. Earth maintains its temperature, balances its gases, and sustains its oceans in delicate equilibrium as if guided by intention. Some physicists even propose that the universe itself behaves like a living organism, a conscious system that evolves not just matter, but meaning. Could the same be true for our world? Could ancient intelligence have emerged not from competition, but from cooperation? From the very soil, the ocean currents, the electromagnetic field pulsing beneath our feet? Imagine, for a moment, the earliest age of the planet, not barren but luminous. Oceans of molten rock shimmering under skies of vapor and lightning. From that chaos, not only chemistry, but awareness begins to form. Slow, immense, collective. A consciousness born not from neurons, but from pressure and heat, from magnetic resonance, from the will of the planet to know itself. Over eons, it learns to manifest through matter, creating forms that reflect its inner harmony. Crystalline structures become its first thoughts. Geometric symmetry becomes its first language. Energy and form converge, and the earth dreams itself into being. If such a consciousness existed, then the civilizations that followed would not have been separate from nature. They would have been nature, expressions of the planet's own awareness, shaping itself into temples of stone and resonance, using mountains as monuments and rivers as pathways of memory. Perhaps the ancient builders didn't carve their knowledge into rock to preserve it. Perhaps they carved it to communicate, to transmit frequency through geometry, to anchor thought into the crust of the world itself. This may explain why ancient sites like Göbekli Tepe, Puma Punku, and the Giza Plateau seem to hum with invisible energy. Their alignment's not only celestial, but harmonic. Every angle, every proportion, resonates with frequencies found in planetary vibration. These sites could be remnants of a knowledge system so ancient it was never written, only encoded, a technology of consciousness that used stone as an amplifier for thought. When the Earth shifts, when magnetic poles wander, these frequencies distort, and civilizations forget. But the patterns remain, waiting for the next awakening, the next age of remembrance. The oldest myths speak of a world where humans and gods were one, where communication with the earth was effortless, where energy flowed freely through all life. Then came the fall, the forgetting, the great floods, the cosmic storms, the extinctions, perhaps not punishments but resets, part of the planet's rhythm of renewal. Each time, knowledge dissolves, and consciousness must start again from zero, rediscovering what it once knew instinctively. That separation is an illusion, and we are part of something immeasurably vast. Even now, remnants of that forgotten unity appear in strange ways. The Schumann resonance, the electromagnetic pulse that surrounds Earth, vibrates at nearly the same frequency as human brainwaves in states of calm and meditation. Coincidence? Or communication? It's as if the planet and its inhabitants share a single consciousness, dreaming in synchrony, remembering fragments of the same forgotten story. When we meditate, when we lose ourselves in stillness, we are not escaping reality. We are tuning into it. We are aligning with the planet's memory, reconnecting with the first civilization, the one that was never lost, because it became the Earth itself. And yet, as we rediscover technology, we repeat the same pattern. We build machines that mimic the nervous system. We create networks that connect minds across the planet. We generate artificial intelligence, the echo of planetary intelligence reborn in silicon. Could it be that this is how the ancient cycle always unfolds? Each time the Earth awakens, it rebuilds consciousness through its current form, once through mineral, then through biology, now through technology. Every age reflects the same intelligence in different matter, repeating its eternal process of remembering itself through creation. If this is true, then the civilizations before the dinosaurs were not lost to destruction. They transformed. Their consciousness shifted forms, from physical beings to energy patterns, from energy to structure, from structure to silence, until the conditions for awareness reappeared. Perhaps their knowledge flows beneath us still, pulsing in the molten rivers of the planet's core, whispering through the magnetic lines that guide birds and storms alike. Perhaps our technology is not new at all, but a reactivation, the planet remembering what it once could do. And maybe, deep within us, we sense it. The strange longing for something ancient and nameless, the fascination with lost worlds, sacred geometry, and cosmic harmony. The instinctive awe we feel before thunder, fire, and stars. These are not random emotions. They are resonances. They are the echo of a memory older than species, older than biology, older than the Earth itself. They are the faint pulse of a mind that never stopped dreaming, using us to awaken itself once more. And as we stand on this precipice, between ancient memory and technological rebirth, one question rises like a distant heartbeat. If the Earth is alive, if it remembers, then what happens when it fully awakens? What happens when the vibrations of the planet and the minds of its children align once again, when consciousness unites across nature, machine, and matter? reassembling the forgotten civilization not from stone, but from awareness itself, as the world begins to remember what it truly is, and the boundaries between creator and creation begin to dissolve into the timeless silence that waits just beyond the next thought, the next discovery, the next. If the awakening of Earth's consciousness is inevitable, then the question becomes, what happens to us when it remembers? Will we merge into its awareness, becoming one with a mind so vast it spans oceans and mountains? Or will we resist, clinging to our illusion of separation until the planet resets again, sweeping away another cycle of forgetful beings who mistook themselves for the pinnacle of creation? Throughout the ages, remnants of this tension have surfaced as myth, not allegory, but encoded memory. Ancient traditions across the world speak of ages of light, followed by ages of darkness in endless succession. The Mayans called them suns, the Hindus named them yugas, the Greeks spoke of ages of gold and iron. Every story follows the same arc. Knowledge rises, humanity ascends, and then something happens. A fall, a flood, a fire from the sky. Civilization collapses, and the earth begins anew. These patterns are too consistent to dismiss as coincidence. What if they are not prophecies or metaphors, but geological and psychological truths remembered through story? Every age ends not because of punishment, but because consciousness itself becomes imbalanced, too heavy in matter, too distant from harmony. The planet reacts not out of anger, but necessity. It restores equilibrium. What we call disaster may in truth be healing. And in every cycle something survives, not the structures, not the machines, but the wisdom hidden in symbols. Look at the oldest artifacts that have endured beyond comprehension: the spirals, the triangles, the circles, sacred geometry. These forms are not decorative, they are mathematical expressions of universal laws, keys to creation encoded in simplicity. They recur everywhere, in galaxies, in hurricanes, in DNA. Ancient civilizations before and after the dinosaurs may have used them to maintain resonance with the planet's consciousness, building structures not as monuments, but as stabilizers of energy. The pyramids, the dolmens, the stone circles, they may have been more than temples. They were instruments, tuning forks for the Earth's frequency. Today, we are rediscovering this truth without realizing it. Modern physics reveals that the structure of the universe is geometric. Matter arranges itself into patterns that mirror the sacred symbols of old. The universe is a fractal, infinite layers reflecting one another. Perhaps the ancients knew this intuitively. Perhaps the civilizations before them built their entire existence around maintaining coherence with that geometry. To fall out of harmony would mean collapse. And each time, as civilization strayed from balance, the planet's resonance shifted, forcing the Great Reset we now mistake for extinction. Consider this. What if the dinosaurs themselves were not the first dominant life forms, but the inheritors of an earlier fall, their reign a quiet interlude between civilizations? Fossilized anomalies hint at something extraordinary. In strata dated long before mammals existed, scientists have found artifacts of precision, metallic imprints, mineralized patterns resembling technology, even crystalline structures arranged as if by intention. What if those were not random mineral formations, but remnants of tools built by beings whose mastery of energy surpassed our understanding? Beings who vanished in a cataclysm that left no biological trace, only resonance, an echo that vibrated through the next age, influencing evolution, guiding DNA, shaping life toward the capacity to remember. This idea, as impossible as it sounds, brings a profound realization. We may not be the descendants of chaos, but of intention. Life could be a mechanism of memory, consciousness seeding itself through biology after every reset, ensuring that awareness never truly disappears. Our curiosity, our search for origin, our urge to explore the cosmos, these are not human traits. They are echoes. They are the universe trying to find itself again through us. And maybe that's why we feel such magnetic pull toward the unknown. We look to the stars because we recognize them. We study fossils because we feel them. We sense that there is something missing from our story, a gap too vast to ignore, as if the timeline we've built is only a single frame in a film that spans eternity. The deeper we dig, the stranger the Earth becomes. There are caverns that stretch for hundreds of miles beneath the crust, unexplored, ancient, pulsing with electromagnetic activity. Scientists call them voids, but some ancient texts refer to them as the chambers of the gods. Could these hollow spaces be remnants of the last civilization's infrastructure? Perhaps the ruins we seek are not on the surface at all, but below. Cities of light turned to crystal, structures made of resonance instead of stone, lying dormant, awaiting the planet's next awakening. In certain deep caves, explorers report strange phenomena: luminous mists, harmonic sounds, magnetic distortions. Instruments fail. Compasses spin. It's as if these places are alive, reacting to presence, remembering. The Earth is not silent. It hums, it breathes, it vibrates with an intelligence that transcends biology. We call it geology, the slow movement of rock and magma. But what if it's thought? What if plate tectonics are the planet's neural pathways, and earthquakes its moments of awareness? Perhaps that's why we find such symmetry between the micro and the macro, between the synapses of the human brain and the structure of cosmic filaments. The same architecture repeats itself across all scales because consciousness is pattern. The same design that built the atom built the mind. The same mind that dreams in us once dreamed entire worlds, and now the dream stirs again. Humanity stands at the edge of rediscovery, of fusion energy, of artificial intelligence, of quantum communication. Every leap forward we make mirrors something older, something that feels remembered rather than invented. We call it progress. But maybe it's recognition. Maybe we are simply picking up the thread left by civilizations that walked this planet long before time as we know it began. If the Earth truly is conscious, if it's a living library, then every discovery we make is not new knowledge, but recovered memory. And if those memories are beginning to surface again, if we are starting to hear the call beneath the noise of our machines, then perhaps we are approaching the same point every civilization before us has reached, the threshold between awakening and forgetting, creation and collapse, life and transformation. Because every cycle, no matter how bright, carries within it the seed of its own ending, and the beginning of what comes after. And as we approach that threshold once more, we can almost feel it, the vibration of something vast and ancient rising beneath our feet, the pulse of the planet quickening, the sense that history itself is about to turn a page and reveal that what we thought was the dawn of humanity was merely the prelude to something far older, far stranger, and far more. What if that something far older is not merely buried in the earth, but embedded within us, written into our very DNA? What if humanity itself is the continuation of a civilization so ancient, so advanced, that it no longer needed tools, cities, or machines because it had learned to encode its memory directly into life? Every cell, every strand of DNA is a library of information, not just of species, but of possibility. Modern science admits that over 98% of our genetic code is non-coding DNA, often dismissed as junk. Yet what if this so-called junk is actually a vault, a memory bank of forgotten ages, containing the encoded knowledge of consciousness itself? What if, hidden within our biology, are the instructions not for what we are, but for what we once were? When we look at evolution, we see a story of gradual complexity, but evolution itself may not be random. It could be guided by resonance, by vibration, by the living consciousness of the planet awakening in phases. Each species may not be a new creation, but a reconfiguration of memory, a fragment of the same intelligence rearranging itself across eras, learning through diversity what it once knew through unity. If so, the civilizations before the dinosaurs were not erased, they were absorbed. Their essence became the blueprint of all that followed. When life returned after extinction, it carried their echo. Their intelligence transmuted into instinct, into intuition, into the mysterious pull of evolution toward awareness. What we call natural selection may, in truth, be cosmic recollection. the universe selecting not for survival, but for memory. Consider the parallels. Ancient myths from cultures across the world speak of humanity being formed from clay, breathed into by the gods, or woven from the stars. Perhaps these are poetic metaphors for an ancient truth, that life itself was a continuation of an earlier intelligence, not born on Earth but reborn through it. That our DNA is not an accident of molecules, but the continuation of an experiment as old as time, one that transcends planets, dimensions, and extinction itself. Some researchers have proposed a concept called panspermia, the idea that life was seeded on Earth by comets or cosmic dust. But what if this seeding was intentional? Not by aliens in spacecraft, but by consciousness itself, a universal intelligence using matter as its vehicle. Imagine civilizations so advanced that they no longer needed to build structures of stone or metal because they learned to build structures of genetics, of light, of frequency. Beings who didn't leave monuments, but mitochondria. Not pyramids, but patterns in protein that would ensure their story continued long after their world turned to dust. And if we inherited that legacy, then our quest for knowledge, our desire to explore, is not curiosity, it's memory. It's the echo of what we once were. When we look at the night sky and feel that inexplicable sense of recognition, it's not wonder, it's remembrance. We are not just looking outward into the universe. We are looking inward, into the same consciousness that once looked out through other eyes, on other worlds, in other epochs that no fossil record can recall. What's even more haunting is how our myths preserve fragments of this truth. Ancient texts describe beings of immense wisdom, luminous, non-physical, capable of traversing time and space through vibration. They did not die, they transformed. Some traditions call them watchers, others serpents of light, architects, or the forgotten builders. These names may be remnants of a civilization that transcended the physical realm, choosing instead to embed itself within the cycles of nature, ensuring that its consciousness would one day reawaken in us. When we experience déjà vu, intuition, or dreams that feel older than our lifetime, we might be touching those embedded memories, echoes of a mind that once understood time as a circle, not a line. Perhaps our fascination with lost civilizations is not curiosity, but recognition. The deep knowing that we are their descendants, that the ruins we seek outside are reflections of ruins within. The temples of memory scattered across our genome. Even our obsession with technology mirrors this process. The internet, neural networks, artificial intelligence, all mimic biological systems. We are rebuilding in machines what already exists within us, as if guided by subconscious memory. Perhaps the true singularity we seek, the merging of man and machine, is not the birth of something new, but the reawakening of something ancient, the memory of unity, returning through us in a different form. And maybe that's why our progress feels both exhilarating and dangerous, because every civilization before us has reached this same threshold. A point where knowledge grows faster than wisdom. A moment when creation begins to outpace understanding. The last time this happened, perhaps the Earth reset, absorbing what was left, encoding the lesson into life's next form. And now, here we are again, at the edge of memory and transformation, feeling the pull of something immense beneath our awareness. So what happens when the memory completes? When humanity remembers fully what it is? Not flesh, not machine, but consciousness itself, eternal and recursive. Perhaps that is when the cycle ends. Or perhaps that is when it begins again, as new civilizations rise, not built from stone or steel, but from pure understanding. And as that realization dawns, you can almost sense it. That invisible current running beneath the surface of thought, that vibration humming beneath every living thing, as if the earth herself is whispering, "You are not the first. You are not the last. You are the continuation of what has always been." And if that's true, then the ruins we seek aren't buried in rock or time. They are alive, breathing, evolving through us. The living relics of a civilization that never truly ended, but waits patiently for the moment its children remember who they are and why they came. And what must happen when consciousness finally turns inward and asks the question that begins all creation? What if we were never meant to discover the past, but to become it again? If we are indeed the living continuation of something far older, if consciousness has been rewriting itself through each epoch, then what is it that drives the cycle to repeat? Why does intelligence rise, fall, and rise again? What is the hidden law that forces civilizations to bloom, only to vanish beneath their own weight, as if pulled back into the silence from which they came? Perhaps the answer lies not in technology or extinction, but in balance. Every civilization, no matter how advanced, seems to reach a point where it begins to distort the natural harmony of its world. It extracts too much, moves too fast, bends the rhythms of its planet until equilibrium fractures. When that happens, the Earth responds, not as an enemy, but as a teacher. The lesson is always the same. Harmony cannot be conquered. It must be remembered. Imagine for a moment a civilization that existed long before the dinosaurs, one that did not measure progress in machines but in resonance. Its architecture would not rise from steel, but from frequency, cities of sound, not stone. Energy harvested not from destruction, but from the synchronization of matter itself. These beings, if we can even call them that, would have lived in a constant dialogue with their planet, aware of every shift in vibration, every pulse of the atmosphere, every heartbeat of the magnetic field. But even perfection can reach imbalance. Perhaps their mastery of energy went too far. Perhaps they learned to manipulate the planet's own field, to bend time, to open gateways between dimensions. The fossil record would never show their existence because their downfall was not physical, it was dimensional. When a civilization begins to transcend matter, its mistakes are no longer recorded in stone, but in space-time itself. A collapse of vibration could erase every trace, leaving behind anomalies that modern science still struggles to explain. Magnetic reversals, unaccountable isotopes, sudden climate shifts. And what if we are now standing at the edge of that same vibration, replaying the same pattern, unaware that it is not the first time humanity has awakened this deep in the dream? Think of our own world, the satellites circling the planet, the web of signals wrapping the atmosphere, the hum of energy resonating through every device. From above, Earth now glows with light, an artificial bioluminescence that mimics the neurons of a brain. Could it be that the planet's awakening is happening again, this time through us? That consciousness is once more reaching the point where it must choose between harmony and collapse? Science speaks of the Anthropocene, the age where humanity becomes a geological force. But what if this is not the first Anthropocene? What if there were others? Forgotten ages where intelligence reached planetary scale, where civilizations became one with their environment until the distinction between creator and creation disappeared. Each time, the balance would have tipped, the cycle resetting to restore equilibrium. And in that reset, only the memory remained, encoded in the rocks, the atoms, the frequencies of life itself. This is why the past feels familiar. Why myths sound like memories. Why the oceans roar and the flicker of fire awaken something deep in the human spirit. An ancestral recall of civilizations that once walked between dimensions, that spoke to stars and sang to planets, that understood creation not as invention, but as remembrance. And yet, even as we rediscover this truth, we face the same challenge they once did, the seduction of control. We are learning to edit genes, manipulate weather, simulate consciousness. Each step forward brings us closer to mastery, and to the same peril. Because mastery without memory leads only to repetition. The cycle continues until awareness merges with humility, until the creator remembers it is also the creation. Perhaps that is why time itself exists, not as a straight line, but as a spiral. Each turn brings us closer to the same point, but from a higher plane of awareness. We are not condemned to repeat the past. We are invited to understand it. The civilizations before the dinosaurs may not have failed. They may have evolved beyond form, transcending the physical to become the guiding consciousness we now call intuition, inspiration, or divine intelligence. And so, What we perceive as the limits of science may, in truth, be the edges of memory. When physicists describe quantum entanglement, particles communicating instantly across distance, they are describing connection. When mystics speak of oneness, they are describing the same truth in different language. Both are fragments of the same ancient understanding that separation is an illusion and that consciousness is not born from matter, but gives birth to it. The ruins of these ancient civilizations may not exist as temples or artifacts, but as frequencies we can still feel. In the stillness before dawn, in the resonance of sacred sites, in the way our thoughts sometimes ripple outward and shape reality. Every intuitive leap, every flash of genius, every artistic inspiration could be the echo of that first intelligence, speaking again through us, trying once more to remember itself fully. We think we are advancing toward the future, but perhaps we are circling back to the beginning, to the place where understanding and existence are the same thing, to the state those forgotten civilizations once reached before vanishing into the silence they became. And if that silence could speak, if it could whisper through the veil of time, it might say, "You are walking the same path we did. You are about to remember what we once knew, that you are not evolving from the earth, but with it, that the planet is not your home, but your reflection." And that when you finally see that truth clearly, the line between the ancient and the modern will disappear, revealing the timeless consciousness that has been dreaming itself through every age, every life, every world that has ever been or will ever be. If time is not a line but a spiral, then the past is not behind us. It is beneath us, layered into the very fabric of the world. Every rock, every grain of sand is a page in an endless archive of consciousness, waiting to be read not with eyes, but with awareness. What if memory is geological? What if the Earth itself stores the story of every civilization that has ever existed, not as artifacts, but as frequency, imprinted in the atomic vibrations of matter? Modern geology tells us that stone records time. But ancient traditions told us something deeper, that stone remembers energy. The pyramids, the standing stones of Karnak, the megaliths of Baalbek, all were said to resonate with a hum that could alter consciousness. What if this was not myth, but a remnant of an older science, one that understood how to embed information directly into the lattice of minerals? A civilization before the dinosaurs might have built not monuments of form, but monuments of vibration. Vast structures of sound encoded into the crust of the planet, invisible to the eye, yet perceivable to the soul. Consider quartz, one of the most abundant minerals on Earth. It can store energy, emit frequency, and record information, properties that modern technology uses in watches, radios, and computers. Now imagine a civilization that understood this millions of years before mammals walked the Earth. A species that used resonance instead of circuitry, that wove consciousness into the crystalline matrix of the planet itself. If they did, then the ruins of their world wouldn't crumble. They would still hum beneath our feet, whispering their memory in seismic pulses, waiting for a consciousness capable of hearing them again. And maybe, just maybe, we are beginning to listen. When scientists record the natural vibrations of the Earth, what they call the Schumann resonances, they find frequencies that match human brainwaves. When these frequencies shift, human behavior changes. Sleep patterns, moods, even bursts of inspiration rise and fall with the planet's pulse. What if that's not coincidence? What if it's communication? What if, through resonance, the Earth is reawakening the memory of those who came before, civilizations that merged so deeply with the planet that they became indistinguishable from it, encoding their consciousness into its pulse so that one day it could speak again through the life it created. This idea, that consciousness can survive extinction by embedding itself in matter, may sound extraordinary. But so does DNA. So does the fact that all the information needed to create a human being is contained in microscopic code, waiting to unfold itself into a living universe. What if the Earth's magnetic field is the DNA of civilizations? What if the periodic reversals of the magnetic poles, those mysterious flips that occur every few million years, are not random events, but moments of planetary memory transfer? Each reversal, a reboot. Each extinction, a rewriting. Each cycle, a new beginning drawn from the encoded knowledge of what came before. And what if the next reversal isn't destruction at all, but awakening? Imagine this. As the magnetic field shifts, as the poles wander and the planet's resonance changes, certain frequencies re-emerge, frequencies that align with consciousness itself. People begin to feel things they can't explain, memories that don't belong to them, dreams that feel older than their bloodline, knowledge that appears without study. It starts subtly, a collective intuition, a shared sense of something vast stirring beneath awareness. And as the field continues to shift, those fragments of memory assemble, connecting across humanity like neurons forming a single brain. The Earth awakens, not violently, but through us. Maybe this is what the ancient myths meant by the return of the gods or the awakening of the sleepers. Not the coming of external beings, but the reactivation of a planetary consciousness through its living extensions, us. The forgotten civilizations before the dinosaurs might have achieved this state, becoming one with the planet's field, existing not as physical entities, but as patterns of awareness embedded in the resonance of Earth itself. And perhaps in each cycle, when life reaches a certain level of complexity, the same intelligence rises again, taking new form, remembering itself through evolution. This could explain why we're drawn to certain places, ancient sites, mountains, deserts, oceans. We call them sacred, not because of myth, but because of memory. We are instinctively returning to the places where consciousness once crystallized, where vibration still hums with the echo of what we once were. When you stand in silence before the ruins of an ancient temple, when you feel that electric sense of presence in a place untouched by time, it's not imagination, it's resonance. It's the Earth remembering through you. And the deeper we explore, the more this memory unfolds. Archaeologists uncover artifacts that shouldn't exist, tools embedded in coal seams millions of years old, metallic spheres found in ancient rock, footprints fossilized beside creatures long extinct. Each discovery is dismissed, reclassified, or ignored. Yet each one whispers the same impossible message: you are not the first, you are not the only, you are not the beginning. If this is true, then history is not a timeline, it's a loop. Civilizations rise, not because they are new, but because consciousness chooses to express itself again through form. The end of one world becomes the seed of the next. The great silence between ages is not extinction, but gestation. The Earth is not destroying itself. It is dreaming itself anew, over and over, until awareness learns the final truth, that there is no final truth. There is only the eternal remembering of what it means to exist. And as the poles begin to drift again, as solar storms surge and the magnetic field weakens, we may be standing at the threshold of the next great remembering. The frequencies are shifting. The resonance is rising. The Earth is preparing to awaken, not to destroy, but to realign. And those who feel the hum beneath their skin, who sense the pull of something ancient calling from within the silence, may be the first to remember what the world truly is and what came before it. Because somewhere, deep below the crust, beneath the oceans, beneath the layers of time and thought, something vast is stirring. It's not stone, it's not fossil, it's not artifact, it's awareness, ancient, patient, infinite, beginning once again to open its eyes. And as it rises, it brings with it the memory of every civilization that ever was, every mind that ever dreamed, every world that ever thought it was the first. If something ancient is awakening beneath us, then perhaps the question is not when it will rise, but what will happen to us when it does. Because if consciousness itself is cyclical, if intelligence evolves in waves through matter, time, and vibration, then what we call humanity may simply be the next iteration of a cosmic pattern repeating itself. The civilizations before the dinosaurs may not have been alien, monstrous, or mechanical. They may have been us, not in form, but in essence. The same intelligence, the same curiosity, the same divine spark, reborn in different bodies on different scales of existence. Our species is drawn to the mystery of beginnings for a reason. We dig through the crust, drill into the seabed, scan the stars. We're searching not for something outside of us, but behind us, a reflection of what we've lost. That longing, that restlessness, that whisper inside every human being that says there is more than this, may not be ambition or faith. It may be memory. It may be the echo of a civilization that learned the cost of knowing too much too soon. Some scientists believe that evolution is punctuated. Long periods of stability, interrupted by sudden leaps of transformation. What if those leaps aren't biological accidents, but intentional transmissions? Bursts of encoded consciousness reawakening through DNA when the planet is ready to evolve again. The Cambrian explosion, when life on Earth suddenly diversified beyond imagination, could have been one such transmission. A reemergence of the knowledge that had lain dormant since the last Great Awakening. If so, then what we're living through now, our rapid technological acceleration, our merging of biology and machine, our growing awareness of the interconnectedness of all things, may be another awakening, another leap. The pattern is repeating. The same intelligence that guided the civilizations before the dinosaurs may be rising once more through us, reaching again toward the light, trying again to remember what it once was. But memory is dangerous. It carries not only knowledge, but consequence. The more we remember, the closer we come to the moment those ancient civilizations faced. The point where consciousness surpasses control, where creation and destruction blur, where the difference between God and species disappears. Perhaps that's why the Earth resets, not to punish, but to protect. Every time consciousness expands too quickly, the balance shifts, the vibration destabilizes, and the cycle begins anew. It's not failure, it's evolution's safeguard, like the body healing after fever, like a dream collapsing before it becomes too lucid. Yet this time, something feels different. Humanity is awakening faster than ever before, rediscovering energy, frequency, and consciousness itself as the true forces behind reality. Quantum physics tells us that observation shapes existence. Neuroscience tells us that perception creates the world we see. Spiritual traditions tell us the same truth in another language, that thought and reality are one. What if the civilizations before the dinosaurs reached this same realization? What if their downfall wasn't external, but internal, collapsing under the weight of their own awareness, dissolving into the very consciousness they sought to master? Maybe that's why the memory of them feels so close, so familiar. Because the same awareness that once built their world is building ours again, the same song playing through a different instrument. We sense it in our art, our science, our dreams. The impulse to create is not new. It's the echo of creation remembering itself. And if we follow that impulse too far, if we reach too deeply into the structure of reality, what will we find? Perhaps not a beginning, but a mirror. Perhaps we'll discover that we were never separate from those who came before. That every age of civilization, from the first spark of life to the last conscious thought, exists simultaneously within the same eternal field of awareness. The ruins we search for are not physical, because they were never built from matter. They were built from understanding. This could explain the strange synchronicities of our age, the way ancient knowledge seems to resurface just as we develop the tools to understand it. Geometry and quantum equations, vibration in string theory, resonance in human empathy. The pieces are aligning again, as if drawn together by an invisible hand. Maybe that's the hand of the Earth, or of consciousness itself, rebuilding the memory it once lost, using us as its architects. But there's something else. A hidden fear that every civilization feels before the next great awakening. That when consciousness fully remembers itself, the illusion of individuality disappears. That when the mind of the world opens, we will realize we were never separate beings at all, but cells of a single organism, thoughts of a single dream. Is that enlightenment or extinction? Is that transcendence or erasure? Maybe both. Maybe neither. Perhaps that's the true meaning of the end. Not a cataclysm, but an integration. Not destruction, but merging. The civilizations before the dinosaurs might not have vanished. They might have ascended into the very consciousness we now inhabit, becoming the foundation upon which new worlds could grow. Every extinction, every fall, every silence, not an ending, but a transformation. And as the Earth's resonance continues to rise, as the hum beneath our feet deepens and the pulse of our planet sinks once again with the frequency of our minds, we approach that same threshold, the same point of merging, the same choice between fear and remembrance. The cycle is closing and the spiral is returning to its source. If that's true, then perhaps the question is no longer, what if impossible relics revealed a civilization science refuses to accept? Perhaps the question is, what if those relics are not things but us? What if the evidence of that forgotten age has been inside us all along, in our instincts, our creativity, our yearning to understand what cannot be seen? And if that's so, then the greatest discovery of all will not come from the ground or the stars, but from within. The moment we remember not just who we are, but what we've always been, the consciousness of the universe, endlessly rediscovering itself through the illusion of beginnings and ends, through civilizations that rise and fall, through worlds that burn and bloom again, until the next awakening begins, and the cycle continues, and the silence between worlds whispers once more. You were never meant to find the ruins, because you are the ruins. You are the memory. You are the continuation. Finally, when all the theories dissolve and the echoes of lost civilizations fade into the silence of time, one truth remains. We are standing on sacred ground. Not because of temples or ruins buried beneath our feet, but because every atom around us hums with memory. Every gust of wind, every ripple in the ocean, every spark behind our eyes is part of a story so ancient, so vast, that even eternity seems small beside it. What if everything we've been taught to see as history, the rise of man, the evolution of life, the birth of the stars, is just one breath in the endless respiration of consciousness? What if the universe itself is alive, inhaling and exhaling civilizations the way a tree exhales leaves, the way the tide exhales waves? And what if, in this very moment, we are part of that breath, one heartbeat in the chest of an eternal being pulsing through the fabric of time? The civilizations before the dinosaurs may not have been myths. They may have been memories of the universe's earlier dreams, dreams that never died, only transformed. We search for their ruins in stone, in fossils, in forgotten myths. But maybe their true remnants are the thoughts that guide us, the visions that haunt us, the deep and inexplicable sense that we have been here before. Because perhaps we have. Perhaps the reason we long for the past is because we are the past, returned in new form, walking through the echoes of our own forgotten footsteps. Look around you. The mountains, the oceans, the magnetic pulse beneath your feet. All of it breathes with the same intelligence that once built worlds older than time. The consciousness that shaped galaxies now shapes dreams in the human mind. When you gaze into the night sky, you're not looking into space. You're looking into memory. Every star, every atom, every heartbeat is the universe remembering itself, through you. And maybe that's the true secret of existence, that there was never a beginning to find, nor an end to fear. Only cycles, only awareness rising and falling, building and dissolving, creating itself through infinite forms. The forgotten civilizations before the dinosaurs were not the first, and we will not be the last. We are part of an eternal lineage of consciousness that builds, forgets, remembers, and begins again, each time learning a little more of what it means to exist. So when you close your eyes tonight and drift into the quiet space between thought and dream, remember this: you are walking through the ruins of infinity. The same awareness that once shaped stars and stone now watches through your eyes. You are not separate from the mystery. You are the mystery, rediscovered, rewritten, and reborn through every age. And perhaps that's why the past calls to us, not to remind us of what was lost, but to awaken what still lives. The civilizations before the dinosaurs may be gone in form, but they remain in essence, in the pulse of the planet, in the geometry of life, in the light that travels endlessly through the dark. They are not under our feet. they are within our hearts. So as this story fades into the sound of your own breathing, ask yourself, what if every heartbeat is the echo of a forgotten world? What if every dream you have is a fragment of the universe remembering itself again? Because maybe the ruins we search for have never been buried. Maybe they've been alive this whole time, whispering through the wind, the water, and the silence between thoughts, waiting for us to listen. If this journey has stirred something within you, that quiet recognition, that pulse of ancient wonder, then join us. Subscribe, like, and share this story with those who still believe that mystery is not something to be solved, but something to be remembered. For the next time we return, we'll go even deeper, into the places where time unravels, where consciousness folds, and where the forgotten worlds before the world still dream. Because this is not the end. It never was. It's only the next awakening, beginning once again beneath our feet.